The face is a very powerful tool to interpret what we have been, what we are, and what we could be. Understanding what our face communicates and those of the people we talk to is a starting point, first of all, to know ourselves, but also to understand others. It is true that we use words when we perceive any emotion, but words are only the representation of emotions. Emotions are a process, a particular form of automatic evaluation of a given situation, which triggers in ourselves a series of physiological changes and emotional behaviors that enable us to manage the situation initially. Nowadays, a significant help in facial reading comes from the studies of an American psychologist, Paul Ekman, and his collaborators, who have scientifically confirmed Darwin's theories on the universality of facial expressions. Facial expressions, therefore, are not specific to each culture as language can be. In order to better understand which precise muscular actions are involved in facial expressions and how to measure their intensity through facial reading, the most prestigious scientific method is the facial action coding system, introduced by Ekman in collaboration with Friesen in 1978. It is just a detailed technical guide that can explain how to figure out which one of the 43 muscles of the face are in action at a particular time, even when the emotion is momentary and not even the person who experienced it is aware of feeling it. Each of these facial muscles corresponds to a single action unit that produces the movement. Through the action units, it is possible then to codify each conformation assumed by the face. The 2007 research of Ekman and Friesen, after having categorized primary emotions and secondary emotions, revealed that there are 6 basic or fundamental universal emotions that are anger, fear, surprise, sadness, happiness, and disgust, to which was later added a 7th emotion, contempt, which is part of the complex or social emotions, including compassion, embarrassment, shame, guilt, pride, envy, gratitude, and indignation. In the 1930s, the American neurologist James Pappas, making a great contribution to the neurology of the time, was the first to propose the hypothesis that there were brain structures organized in what we know today as the limbic system, in charge of controlling emotions, memories, and learning. He named this series of brain structures Pappas circuit, making a great step forward in the psychology of emotional behavior. His hypothesis foresees the existence of a number of serial connections, first between the hippocampus and the hypothalamus, thalamus, and cingulate cortex, and then these back to the hippocampus. By analyzing all related muscle fasciae, Ekman and Friesen introduced microexpressions for the first time. That is to say, those very rapid and apparently imperceptible facial movements that last a few fractions of a second, from a 25th to a fifth of a second, that reveal our repressed emotions, what we don't say. Microexpressions arise spontaneously and autonomously and disappear immediately after they appear. Also, emotional expressions do not always manifest themselves entirely. In some cases, they can only manifest themselves in a specific area of the face. These are called partial or subtle expressions and appear when the emotion is weak or reduced. In case the muscle contraction is not very strong and evident, we're talking instead about light expressions. The study of microexpressions is particularly useful to learn to recognize nonverbal leaks and therefore lies. Something to take into account is that the artificial expressions are more asymmetrical than the spontaneous ones, and that the smile is the most frequent mask because there are many social situations that require circumstantial smiles or the dissimulation of unpleasant feelings. Each emotion can be used to mask another, as for example, when fear is masked with anger. The famous American TV series Lie to Me is totally inspired to the studies of Professor Ekman, and in the first episode, to which he collaborated as a scientific advisor, we can see an American neo-Nazi being interviewed. The investigator knows for sure that he has placed a bomb in a church of black people, but he doesn't know in which one, and the accused man refuses to answer questions. But his micro-expression of joy when he hears the name of a church that the FBI is about to raid reveals that that is the wrong address, while his micro-expression of anger when he hears the name of a second church suggests that that's where he placed the bomb. This study does not claim to offer a complete and definitive picture of emotions, since science is still examining how each of us experiences them and why some individuals experience them and manifest them more intensely or more quickly than others. However, the scientific discoveries analyzed, and in particular the studies of Professor Heckman, can help to shed light on the aspects necessary to improve the management of personal emotional life, to be more aware of when emotions take over, and to develop our empathy and become more sensitive to other people's moods.